Okay, so get this. You're like way down a 4chan rabbit hole, right? And you find this weird picture. It's not just any picture, though. This one. It's got hidden messages, ciphers, like the whole 9 yards. Turns out it's the very first clue in like the most crazy, complicated internet scavenger hunt ever. And that's just the start of the whole Cicada 3301 thing.
Yeah, the thing about Cicada 3301, it's not just like a regular puzzle. It's this story mixed up with cryptography and philosophy and maybe even like activism.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to deep dive into today with this awesome YouTube video from Lemino. He like lays out all the puzzles and tries to figure out what it all means, Like, are these people geniuses or are they just like master trolls?
Right. Well, let's start with that first puzzle in 2012. It all started with just a simple image on 4chan, the home of so many internet legends.
But this was not your average Where's Waldo thing, right? This puzzle went from 0 to 100, like that. Ciphers, hidden messages, phone numbers, coordinates.
Hmm?
They even had actual posters out in the real world. It was like a real treasure hunt, but, with the internet as your map.
Yeah, think about how big that is. Someone actually put up those posters and make sure the right people found them at the right time. I mean, the planning is insane.
And the puzzles weren't just about riddles and stuff. You needed to know some serious stuff, like cryptography, steganography, coding, even literature and philosophy. It's almost like Cicada wanted to test every part of your brain.
Totally. They were looking for people with certain skills and like a certain mindset. Remember what they told people who didn't make it to the end? We want the best, not the followers.
Ouch, kind of harsh. But I guess it worked. It shows what they were trying to do to find people who are super smart, but also like really into privacy and free information.
And that's where the connection to the whole cypherpunk movement gets interesting.
Oh, right. Remind me about that connection again.
Well, one of the people who supposedly solved the puzzles said that Cicada 3301 is like carrying on what the cypherpunks were doing back in the 80s and 90s. Those guys were all about using cryptography to give power back to people. They weren't just tech nerds, they were like activists.
So if Cicada's continuing that, it means these puzzles weren't just for fun. They were looking for people to help build a better future, one that's more private and secure.
Exactly. To do that, you need more than just being able to solve puzzles. You need to really understand cryptography and how it can change the world.
Now, the 2013 and 2014 puzzles were kind of similar, with online clues leading to real-world things. But then things got kind of creepy when they introduced Liber Primuses.
Yes. Liber Primus is the book written by Cicada themselves. It's full of philosophy stuff and surprise. Even more puzzles.
Yeah.
And some of them no one has solved yet.
It's like they gave us a little peek into their minds, but then left us with an even bigger mystery to figure out.
Well, maybe the real puzzle isn't about solving codes and finding hidden messages. Maybe it's about learning new things and questioning everything we think we know.
Okay, now you're sounding like Liber Primus. But seriously, it's amazing how this whole thing still fascinates people, even after all this time.
It shows how curious we are as humans. We want to find out what we don't know, and Cicada 3301 played into that. Even though the puzzles have stopped, people are still looking for answers.
So let's talk about the theories. In the Lemino video, he looks at a few, was it like a viral marketing campaign? Probably not, since they never advertised anything.
What about government recruitment? I mean, intelligence agencies have done similar stuff, but Cicada just feels different somehow. More ideological, maybe?
Right. And then there's the theory that Cicada 3301 is just a group of tech people who are super into privacy and cryptography. Maybe not as exciting as spies, but it seems more likely, right?
Yeah, I think so. It fits with the cypherpunk idea and all the stuff about privacy and the puzzles. But we have to remember, we don't know everything for sure.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle when half the pieces are missing. Got to be careful about jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, exactly. We've got all these theories, but the truth about Cicada 3301 is still out there. And maybe that's how they want it.
Okay, but let's say, just for fun, that some people did solve the puzzles and got recruited by Cicada. What happened to them?
That's a big question. The Lemino video talks about what some of the supposed winners said, and that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, now I'm hooked. Tell me more.
Well, we'll get to those stories in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, I'll leave you with this thought. What if Cicada 3301 isn't just a puzzle, but like a door to something bigger? Something that changes how we think about privacy, security, and the whole internet.
Ooh, cryptic.
Mm.
I like it. Stay tuned, everybody, because we're going even deeper down the rabbit hole. All right, so we're back, and we're ready to dive into those stories from the supposed Cicada 3301 winners.
Yeah, remember how Cicada was all about syncrecy? Makes it really hard to tell what's real and what's not.
All right, like, trying to figure out the truth is kind of like whispering in a library,
Yeah.
you know?
But let me know, found some pretty interesting stuff. Like there's this Rolling Stone article from 2015 where two people say they solved the first puzzle back in 2012.
So what happened after that? Did they, like, meet the cicada people or get flown off to some secret island?
Well, not exactly. They said they got an email with directions to a hidden forum on the dark web. Imagine, like, a secret online club where all the winners and a few cicada people could talk.
Whoa, the dark web. That's so sneaky. But wait, if people lost interest, wouldn't that actually help Cicada? Maybe they wanted to get rid of people who weren't serious enough.
That's a good point. Maybe the silence and waiting was another test. But these winners said the forum was all about making software that fit with Cicada's whole, like, philosophy. They wanted to use their skills to make real-world stuff for privacy and security.
So it wasn't just a puzzle club then. They were actually trying to build something useful.
Yeah, that's the idea. But here's the frustrating part. The winners didn't give many details. What kind of software? Who was it for? It's like they gave us a taste and then took it away.
Maybe they weren't allowed to say more. Or maybe they never even got that far. They did say that a lot of the recruits got bored and left, without the excitement of the puzzles. By the end of 2012, most of them were gone, and then poof, the website vanished a few months later.
It's like Cicada just disappeared, and everyone was left wondering what it all meant. Did they get what they wanted? Did they find the right people? Or was it all just like a big experiment that didn't work out?
Yeah, it's like we get these little clues, but so much is still a mystery. But Let Me Know also talks about this YouTuber, Nox Populi, who says he solved the second puzzle in 2013.
Right, Nox Populi's story is a bit different. After he finished the second puzzle, Cicada just told him to wait. No website, no forum, just silence.
That's weird. Why change things up?
Yeah.
And what about everyone else who solved the second puzzle?
Well, Nox Populi did some digging, being the internet detective he is. He found other winners, and they all got the same message. Be patient. And then, nothing.
It's like Cicada hit the pause button on the whole thing. Did something happen to them? Like, did they have problems or someone try to stop them?
Or maybe they found what they were looking for, finished their project, and just moved on.
Ugh, so many possibilities, but no real answers. Okay, before we get too lost in all this speculation, let's go back to the puzzles themselves for a sec.
Yeah, Let Me Know does a good job showing how each puzzle from 2012 to 2014 followed the same basic pattern. You start with a mysterious image online, and there's always a hidden message inside. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs leading to a book, a website, or even clues hidden out in the real world.
It's crazy how Cicada mixed the digital and physical worlds together. Each puzzle was like a real-life adventure, but with the internet as your guide.
And they always focused on the same skills, too, like cryptography, steganography, coding, all that stuff, almost like they were looking for a specific kind of intelligence.
And the way they used real-world clues was so ahead of its time. Like, it's kind of like those AR games we have now, right?
Totally. Cicada 3301 was doing that before it was cool. They weren't just making puzzles, they were pushing the limits of technology, art, and even like how people interact.
But we can't forget about the big message they kept putting in the puzzles. That whole idea of privacy and security being super important.
Yeah, the puzzles themselves were all about decrypting stuff, finding hidden info, navigating the dark web, all skills that are like super valuable in cybersecurity.
It's almost like they were using the puzzles to train people, to find those who not only had the skills, but also understood why protecting information is so important.
Now, out of everything in the Cicada story, Liber Primus's is still the most confusing.
It's like their own personal Bible, full of philosophical ideas and mysterious pronouncements. Even the best code breakers haven't figured out all of it.
Yeah, Liber Primus gives us a tiny peek into what Cicada believed in, like individual freedom and fighting oppression.
Some people even say the book sounds kind of culty.
Oh.
It's a little creepy, honestly.
Well, it's full of weird sayings, philosophical ramblings, and coded messages. Not exactly an easy read, even if you can understand the runes.
It's like they wanted to make sure only the most dedicated people could understand Liber Primuses. Adds another layer of mystery to the whole thing.
And it's been years since the last Cicada puzzle, but people are still trying to decode Liber Primuses, looking for clues to the next challenge.
It's amazing how this whole thing still has people hooked. It's like proof that we love a good mystery.
Yeah, we're drawn to the things we don't understand. Cicada 3301 knew that, and even though the puzzles have stopped, the search for answers keeps going.
Okay, so let's say Cicada is this group of privacy activists, like the evidence suggests. What were they really trying to do? What was the end goal?
That's a big question, isn't it? Those leaked emails, even though we don't know if they're real, Talk about making privacy software.
But we don't know much about it. What kind of software could actually do what they wanted? What kind of impact could it have?
Imagine a world where everyone controls their own data, where no one can spy on you, where you can't be censored.
Sounds like a privacy paradise. But is that even possible?
Maybe that's what Cicada 3301 was trying to figure out. Were they trying to build tools for a more private future, or was it just like a thought experiment, a way to make people think about digital freedom?
I guess we won't know for sure unless Cicada comes back and tells us. But even if they stay silent, their impact is undeniable.
For sure. They did things no one else had done, challenged how we think, and inspired people to learn about cryptography and digital privacy.
And they left us with a mystery that just won't go away.
And that's pretty cool, actually. Cicada 3301 reminds us that sometimes the best mysteries are the ones that don't have clear answers.
Oh, there you go with the philosophy again.
Yeah.
I like it. But before we wrap things up, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. All this talk about winners, emails, forums. Can we be sure any of it's real?
That's the thing with Cicada 3301. We're basing everything on information that's really hard to prove. Anyone could say they solved the puzzles, that they talked to Cicada,
Yeah, it's the internet, right? Being anonymous is good and bad. You can say what you want, but it's also easy to spread lies and make up stories.
So yeah, we've looked at these stories and thought about what they mean. But we got to remember, we're dealing with a lot of guesswork here.
We can't just believe everything we read, especially when it comes to anonymous groups like Cicada 3301.
Exactly. But even with all the uncertainty, one thing's for sure. Cicada 3301 changed the internet. They made people talk about privacy, security, and the future of digital communication.
They gave us a story that we just can't stop thinking about. And whether they meant to or not, they created something that will probably last for a long, long time.
So where does that leave us? Are we any closer to figuring out who Cicada really is? Probably not.
But I think we understand how complex this whole thing is. We've looked at the puzzles, thought about the theories, and faced all the things we don't know.
And maybe that's enough. Maybe the real puzzle isn't about finding all the answers. Maybe it's about being okay with not knowing everything, accepting that some secrets are just going to stay hidden.
Ooh, getting all deep again. I'm into it. But on that note, I think it's time to focus on the puzzles themselves.
Yeah, let's get into the details, starting with that first puzzle from 2012, the one that started it all. The Let Me Know video breaks it down step by step, and it's crazy to see how fast it goes from a simple image on 4chan to a worldwide treasure hunt.
All right, picture this. You're on 4chan, just scrolling along, and you see this strange picture. It's just a black and white image, but something about it just feels weird.
You'd be right to feel that way. Because hidden inside that image is a message, a clue that starts you on a journey into a mystery unlike anything you've ever seen.
Get ready, folks, because things are about to get interesting. Okay, so we've talked about the puzzles and all the theories, but in this last part, we got to figure out, what did those clues actually lead to? What was waiting for the people who actually solved everything?
Yeah. Remember how Cicada was all about being super secretive? The further you went, the less you knew,
Right, it's like climbing a mountain, and when you get to the top, there's another mountain behind it.
Exactly.
So how do we even figure out what happened at the end of these puzzles? It's like trying to solve a puzzle with only half the pieces and no picture on the box to help you.
It's tough, for sure. We got to separate truth from fiction, cut through all the rumors and stories that have been floating around online forever. But Let Me Know does give us some clues. He points out some stories from people who say they made it to the end.
Oh, okay, so let's hear them. Did they find out, some big secret? Did they join some secret society fighting for internet freedom? Or was it all, a big disappointment?
Well, one of the most detailed stories comes from this Rolling Stone article in 2015. Two people said they solved the first puzzle back in 2012, and they talked about what happened. They said Cicada emailed them and told them to go to this hidden forum on the dark web.
The dark web. Ooh, that sounds super secret.
Right. Imagine a secret online clubhouse where you have to know the password to get in. All the winners and a few Cicada people could hang out there and talk.
So did they finally get some answers? What was the big reveal?
Well, according to them, Cicada 3301 was started by this group of friends who are all into security, privacy, and hated censorship. They wanted to make something that mattered, something that could change things and protect people's freedom in this digital world we live in.
That's actually kind of cool because the puzzles weren't just for fun. They were about finding people who felt the same way, right?
Yeah, a way to filter out the people who just wanted to solve puzzles for the challenge. They needed people who were not only smart, but also believed in the same things.
But what were they actually doing in this secret forum?
The winners said they were making software, but they didn't say much about what it was, like what kind of software, who was it for. We're left with more questions than answers.
Maybe they weren't allowed to talk about it. Or maybe they never even got that far. They did say that a lot of people got bored and left once the puzzles were over. Like they were missing the excitement, and building software is, well, kind of boring compared to that.
Right. Maybe the puzzles were a really smart way to get rid of people who weren't serious enough, to find the ones who were really committed to the cause.
So by the end of 2012, there were only a few people left in the forum. And then a few months later, the website just disappeared.
Gone, just like that.
So did Cicada succeed? Did they find the people they were looking for? Or was it all just like a big flop?
It's a question that, like, still bothers people who were involved. We get these little hints, but there's no real proof.
Okay, but there's more to this, right? Lemino also talks about this YouTuber, Nox Populi, who says he solved the second puzzle in 2013.
Oh, yeah, Nox Populi, his story is interesting, too. After he finished the second puzzle, Cicada just told him to wait. No website, no forum, just .wait.
That's kind of creepy, actually. Like they were saying, we'll be in touch, but then nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Nox Populi, being like an internet detective, decided to find other people who solved the second puzzle. And guess what? They all got the same message. Be patient. And then silence.
It's like they just vanished. Did something bad happen to them? Did someone try to shut them down?
Or maybe they found what they needed, finished their project, and just like went their separate ways.
Ugh, so many possibilities, so few answers. It's like Cicada wanted to create a mystery that would last forever.
Maybe they did. Maybe the real legacy of Cicada 3301 is that we'll never truly know the whole story.
But even without knowing everything, I think it's been a pretty amazing journey, right?
For sure. They did things that no one else had even thought of. They made us question everything, and they got people excited about privacy and security.
They gave us this story that just keeps us coming back for more, even after all these years.
And maybe someone listening right now will be the one to finally figure it all out.
Yeah, maybe. So, that's it for our deep dive into the world of Cicada 3301. What a wild ride.
It really was. And if you want to learn more, there's tons of stuff online. The Lemino video is a great place to start, and there are websites and forums and articles like everywhere.
So keep those brains working, keep searching, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to finally solve the mystery of Cicada 3301. Until next time, stay curious and keep those code-breaking skills sharp.